Welcome back to Realistic Progression 1 in Kerbal Space Program 1.3.1. Yeah. Oh, and just a brief note, by the way, if you're watching my other series, the KSP 1.4 Making History series, there is a new patch coming, 1.4.3. I think it's this coming week, and it will include an entirely new launch pad that's out in the desert called the Desert Launchpad in typical Kerbal style. So do look out for that if you have the vanilla game, etc. on updating. So what do we want to get started with this episode? Well, we've done that lunar orbiter, and I've done another one because we got offered that mission twice, and it's exactly the same except I tooled the tanks because we're going to reuse those a few times. Those stages are very, very reusable. And of course, once you tool everything, the rollout time gets reduced as well, it looks like. I think that's the case. You can correct me if not. But now our next technology tree thing that we need to unlock is the 1962 Orbital rocketry, but that's more than a year, well, just over a year away. And let's just quickly take a look at that and what we've just unlocked. So what is just unlocked for me is this early power generation storage. So we've got the first fold-out solar panels, in this case the Ranger ones. But they don't track the sun, unlike vanilla KSP. So if you do get these, you still need to orient things. However, it does produce 178 watts if they are facing the sun, of course. And they can't be retracted, and obviously dynamic pressure, i.e. atmosphere, will nicely blow them away from your nice Explorer core or whatever you've got out. So we also have the two upgraded solar panels, the ST2, the ST3, although, yeah, one is 31 watts, but it's obviously much, much smaller than the other one. It's a quarter of the weight, but you do get more than 4 times as much wattage if you can fit this ST3 solar panel. So they are much nicer if you want to upgrade to those. I've unlocked those, but the next thing in the tree for me, just to give you a brief update, is this 1962 Orbital rocketry node. So in here, once the game catches up, we've got the XLR-81 Gina D, and I think that was the one that actually originally went to the moon, even though I'm using different engines with like the Lunar Orbiter 1 in real life. I think that was the XLR-81. It seems to ring right in my head anyway. I'm sure someone correct me in comments if I'm wrong. And then more upgrades to the AJ-10 early, the LR-101s, the 105s, 87s, 89s, 91s, and yeah, a new config for the XLR-81 BA-11. Okay, or maybe there was BA-11 that went to the moon. Anyway, that's more than a year away, so we can't get that just yet. If we get some more science, we can get the prototype Hydrolox engines, and we definitely want Hydrolox engines at some point. Early Hydrolox LR-87s, and to improve flight control and 1963 orbital rocketry. The E1, yeah, that would be nice as well. Okay, so we've got plenty of stuff to go in the rocket engines. What we're going to do this episode is fly a return mission if possible, and a return just from orbit, nothing too extreme, nothing out to the moon. We got offered reach orbital speed and return safely to Earth. So there is a similar mission in vanilla KSP, but of course everything's a bit more frantic in Realism Overhaul. So reach orbital velocity of 6,500 meters per second with a minimum altitude of 150 kilometers. We can do that. And situation suborbital above 150, greater than 6.5, that will be fine, and return home safely. Now we get 150,000 advance and a completion of 158,000, so 300k would be more than welcome. And because we've tooled that existing craft, or at least the tanks on that existing craft and all the fairings and stuff like that, we could just reuse it. Its cost is now down to about 17,000, even though it's a moon launcher. Save us sort of tailoring an entirely new vehicle. We can just reuse the vehicle. So we're going to take this, and this doesn't have any. Yeah, it says uncrewed. So that's quite important. And of course, we're doing uncrewed before crewed. So to 602,000 now. Let's go and take a look at the modifications we've got to do to the vehicle. So here's the first vehicle attempt, I guess you want to call it. We've got this same Lunar Explorer that we've used previously. My main problem is going to be if there's enough power in this, not this stage is fine, in this stage. It's quite a long stage, it's 6 minutes 40, and it really has a great deal of problem. I mean, look at the thruster weight ratio, it's not great at all. And similarly, the next stage up doesn't have a great amount, so we may have problems with that. We can loft ourselves fairly high, but that might not achieve the velocity sort of angle. So yeah, well, let's give it a try. We've got more than enough to do it more than once if this doesn't serve. So in here, we've got a modified version. We've got two parachutes. They've been customized using the actions menu. So what you do is you just take this off, and then you go to actions, click here, choose whatever options you want. In my case, just sort of the default options in here, and apply settings, and it will say that is okay. Application succeeded. And you probably want to set something like, in a custom group action, set to arm the parachutes as well. Okay, so back to the regular interface. So we've got this upper stage. It'll give me some final control before I get rid of it. We could get rid of that stage in time. In fact, let's just take a look. What happens if I remove that and we just go with this? It doesn't really change our our total delta V all that much, to be honest. And it does improve the other two. Yeah, so interesting. But that will make the last stage the AJ10 then. And if we run out and we've got problems, let's try. Yeah, let's try it like this, and we'll see if we need this extra stage. Let me just call this the thermal B or something. And I actually want that separator back. There we go. Let's put this back for a second. And that's a decent setup. So let's just put our fairings back. And now we've got to check the staging and everything. 11287, obviously that's more than enough for orbit, but the main problem is this thruster weight ratio. We've saved some weight just by taking out that last stage, which should hopefully make the other stages more positive. So we've got a few things to sort out. So new sort of standard for my vehicles: start up the liquid engines, start up the solid engines and the towers at the same time. We get rid of both of the SRBs. Then we're going to detach, fire the retro rockets, fire the ullage rockets all at the same time. So both of these are going to head away from each other quite quick, well, relatively quickly. Fire both of these, the LR105s, well, the LR105 in its vernier thruster, of which it only has one. Then up we go again, get rid of that stage, enable the RCS, and fire the ullage again. Are they ullage? Oh, that's retro. Sorry, that's retro. And then we've got that AJ10. Now at this point, the RCS is active, so we can just turn on the RCS, then start the engine, and we'll be fine. So then what we've got to look at is both of those can go in the same stage. Whoops, you can go in the same stage. This has parachute, but I'm not too terribly concerned because I'm going to arm that. And then we can also drop the heat shield as it's coming back down. It may not even need a heat shield because it's going by orbital. We could sort of try and use an engine to break it, like in vanilla, but this is not vanilla. So let's save that, shall we? And let's build one and see whether it flies. And here we are on the launch pad. We can launch whenever we like. I've refueled the tanks. Remember, we basically roll things out without fueling things up. So here we are, and we can launch, yeah, anytime. There's no specific commission timescale for this one. I'm going to leave it in a classic ascent profile rather than go with the RO specific one. And turn end is 150, and then final flight path angle 20. That's really high, and that's mainly because I don't want to, I want to give these as much chance as possible to get us towards orbital velocity. So with that in mind, well, time to launch. Main engine light, and that's going to start burning. There we go. And now SRB lights, and the tower's open, and up we go. So just to keep things nice and quick. I'm going to just increase physical time warp. I know you saw the wobbling, but that really was much quicker than normal time. Everything should go up now just fine, or at least unless we have any failures. Failures always are a bit of a downside to this sort of thing. So there we go. 22 seconds. It's going faster than normal, and we should be losing our SRBs. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now it's going to get really slow just because in the last few seconds these don't really have much thrust, and away they go. It's sort of a cheap Korolev cross. Yeah. So up we go, and now we can get to the end of this stage, and let's see how well it does. So this again will go quite quickly. You'll lose the real plume at the back just when we're in physical time warp. Otherwise everything is working just fine. And now you'll see this mid stage here that I've rearranged, so the retros and the illusions fire at the same time. So let's go back to real time and fire them. So we're going to separate and fire the next stage. There it goes, and it will continue heading up into the space. So our APO is already at 235. We want to continue that up towards sort of 300 kilometers, I think, ish. That should be where that's where it takes us if we were in the normal lunar orbiter, but in this case we're in a modified version with no upper stage to sort of break us at the moon, because we shouldn't need that. So what you see, this stage is down here at the bottom right. It's 6 minutes long, and that's quite bad. It just takes a long time. So I'm gonna we can't use normal physical time warp, so if we press Alt and right arrow we can force the case, and up it will go, and we'll see, hopefully if it's good enough, we'll see this time to APO stop right as it comes in towards 0. At least that's the theory. Okay, with 12 seconds to the APO, you'll see that's starting to increase again, so we can decrease this angle now, and it's going to tip us a little bit, but otherwise the gap's going to still keep increasing, so we can bring down our angle to correspond with that. There it is. It's sort of hovering now, and it should still push it outwards, even though we've got 40 seconds left in the tank, but we can just keep, there we go, it's increasing again, so we can bring our angle down again. 11 degrees, and that's coming in, but then it's turning around again. So again, we can go back up towards orbit. Now you'll see our our orbital speed is increasing quite quickly, which should mean that we end up with a lot of that AJ10 stage free, which is good. It's exactly what we want to occur. So I'm just going to skip forward until, well, in fact, we're almost out of this stage now, so we can start up the AJ10 stage. Ready? Here we go. Alright, so now we can turn on RCS. That'll thrust us forward, and we can press Z. It should fire the engines up. That really should have fired the engines. Oh, no, sorry. Set it to press space. Turn the RCS back off again. And we continue to go. So we have just passed APO, but we got plenty of sort of wiggle room. And we're going to continue to head up towards orbit. Or at least, we don't need to go up towards orbit, to be honest. As soon as we hit 6,500, we should be fine. 6,500. So there we go. All we have to do now is return home safely. So disengage the autopilot, and our engine cuts off. RCS back on, and then I want to flip us retrograde. It's going to turn us around. I'm going to enable the antennas. So up they come. Not that they're particularly needed on this craft, but you know, we've got them going. So over we come, and then we can use this to bleed off a lot of that, well, quite a bit of that speed. Let's see where we sort of are on the track for the planet. We need to get rid of some of this junk. So we will come down in the ocean over there, but we'll sort of lose, yeah, we'll lose communications if we do that. So if we just go retrograde, we can burn. And we can also arm those parachutes. Technically, they should only ever deploy once it gets low. So let's just start up this engine again. keep the RCS, and then we can take a look at what's happening to our periapsis here, and we can take a look at the orbital track to see where that's going. Ideally, we want to stop and drop into the ocean as quickly as we can, really. But to prepare for that, I guess I should set this to surface retrograde. Surface velocity minus? Yeah. Let's leave it till orbital retrograde for the moment. See how well these engines do. And then we should be able to use the RCS just to position ourselves nice for incoming to the atmosphere. And that's about enough. I can't really justify leaving it much more, so we're going to just get rid of the whole engines here. And this is the unfortunately that's going to throw us off. However, this is bottom heavy, so once we hit the atmosphere, it should hopefully I'm really hopeful that it will just nicely settle over the retrograde. We'll see how well that does very shortly. So here we come. We're about to hit the atmosphere, and of course we're facing exactly the wrong direction, but and of course thereby we lose the connection. So I've already enabled the parachutes or armed them, and now hopefully that should slow itself down, and it does look to be slowing down. Let's see if it passes, and then please don't settle on this side. It should settle itself down around this side. So slow down. Stop. Oh, we're going around again. Okay, let's keep going. Nothing much I can do at this stage. And there it is. It's turning itself back towards retrograde now as the air gets thicker and thicker, and it's settling in. In fact, there's nothing much I can do at this point. It may well burn off some of these solar panels if they're out too far away from the center, and indeed the antennas are already... Oh, their antennas are already going. Yeah. They will get blown off by the slightest dynamic pressure, but that's not important to us. The main thing is important is the integrity of this Explorer core, and of course the parachutes. Nothing can do about those, but our speed is bleeding off right now, so everything is on track, hopefully, for a deployment around 5,000 meters, so we can fast forward a little bit. And we have no connection, so I can't even lose the heat shield if I want to. Nothing I can do about that either. So I'm going to jump us forward. And this is where we find out if I've set the parachutes up correctly. Because they are armed, and they should go off once we hit 5,000 meters. Here we come. Okay. And there's both of our parachutes deployed. Good. Everything is just tilting off, but that's fine. And once they hit 1,000, they should deploy properly, which should be fine. My only concern right now is whether we can lose, whether this heat shield is going to drag us down. I'm really hopeful that it isn't, but there's not, once it hits the water that is, but there's nothing I can do about it anyway. We just don't have any connection anymore. And in we come for a watery touchdown. Let's just get closer to the surface. The parachutes were set up to bring things in really quite slow, so we have no chance of damaging it if we came in on land. So 3, 2, 1, and recover the vessel. So we've got our mission complete. We've recovered a crash from orbit, which is one of the sort of main prerequisites to going manned. We need to bring them back safely, of course. The heat shields did cost us around, I want to say, either 6 or 12,000, something like that. But that's not terrible in the scheme of things. And let's head back to take a look at the results. Here we are. So we didn't get any science for doing that, of course, but we did get our funds up to 700,000, which is feeling a little bit nicely more comfortable, except for the fact that these upgrades now just cost so much. We could go through with the upgrade on the launch pad. Maybe we'll do that. That'll give us an increased size. So up to 50 meters tall and 28 meters wide. And, well, we get 2.5 times the amount of weight. So we shouldn't need to refuel on the launch pad if we do that. Mission control, that's no need for that. I think only if we get to manned, not the flagpole. The astronaut complex, EVAs, is only if we go once we go manned, so we don't have to worry about that either. And I don't think there were any strategies in Realism Overhaul. Nothing selectable anyway, so we don't have to worry about that either. And of course, like most KSP RO missions, or Realistic Progression 1 missions, you get to do them more than once. So I'll be able to get another 300,000 by reflying that same mission with that craft that costs 17,000, plus its rollout fee. You should never forget that it costs more than that in reality because of the rollout fee. I think it was like 30,000, maybe 30,000, or maybe less than that for the rollout fee. But we're getting far more than that in the mission rewards, so that's really helping us with those. At some point soon, we need to start looking at communication satellites, and not necessarily for these missions, because these missions, yeah, they give us rewards, but they require us to take a ComSat payload on board as well. And we don't really need a ComSat payload. We just need the antennas. Do we have the antennas already unlocked though for that? Let's take a quick look. Yeah, so we have the Reflectron KR7, and that indeed it lets us get to geostationary orbits with a really wide angle, so 25-degree cone angle, and that should cover most of Earth if we get it up high enough. So I think next episode we're going to take this, it has a power consumption of 50 watts, but we've just, this episode, just before I started recording, unlocked the, here we are, these. So what I may well do is try and build something with these, and a Ranger core or something along those lines. In fact, we can take a quick look now and we'll see what weight it is, and of course that will mean what we can fit it onto as far as our current stable of vehicles is concerned. Okay, so what kind of satellites can we build? We can either take the early controllable core, which is one possibility, and does that allow us, what kind of control does it allow us? Anything? Stability assist, prograde, retrograde, hold, that's fine, just in case I need to take manual control. And this allows for a vessel up to 200 kilograms basically. We could also take the Ranger core, that allows us to control larger vehicles, or sort of a stripped down form, which is the Mariner core. So we want all of those anyway, but just the sheer cost of these things is quite high. Now this is a little bit heavier, so we may want to save as much as we can. Ooh, expensive, but we can rerun that orbital return. So let's get its early controllable core. It's pretty tiny. And then let's take a look at the antennas. We want the KR7. So let's just zoom in. There we go. Much easier to see. So if you have the antenna on top like that, that's pretty cool. We also need some electrical. So we have the various options here. So we have ST2, ST3, and yeah, interesting. This gives us 31 watts. Or indeed, where's that other one that unfolds? Am I missing it? It should be in here. It's a, well, it's non-realism overhaul, so that's maybe why, but it is RP0 or RP1 allowed. So yeah, let's take a look at that. So that's 31 watts, 656. And what does that controllable core need? It needs 50 watts constant. So in here we can take a look. 31 watts is not good enough. I think let's take a look in the ST3s. Another 9,000. Whoa. Or maybe not. That may be a little bit large. Maybe just put a couple of these on the side. So let's just grab ST2s. That's better. And we'll get a procedural battery, of course. We can increase the size of this. Width of it more like. There we go. And I guess we'll just wrap it in a nice orange color. And then we've got to find space to get these panels on here, don't we? So we need, we're going to need more than that. So what's our vessel up to already? So it's up to 185 kilograms. So we're going to need more on here, I think. So yeah, not so sure this will go ahead without. We're going to need at least 2 of these on here. So we're going to need our main fuel tank, and I think for that we're going to go with similar sort of setup to the one that we had on the lunar launcher. We had that last stage, it's sort of the 1 kilonewton thruster. So I guess we can build that stage again. I don't think I've got it in a sub-assembly, but I think we'll get to that next episode. We'll build it onto the bottom, same stage that went to the moon, and then we'll just have a couple of antennas on here for, you know, on the way up, something along those lines. And hopefully this will serve as our sort of first core for our first communication satellite. And then if that works well, then we'll launch more than one of them. And we'll just get this up as close as we can towards geostationary. And they'll precess around. I'd have to edit save files otherwise to get them exactly static. Just we don't have that much low-level control of things in KSP, unfortunately. But that should serve as a decent call. So I hope you'll join me next episode for Comsat networks, and I'll explain how you set them up and stuff like that for that episode. If we had a much bigger rocket, we could launch more than one on the same rocket, but we don't really have that yet. Well, yeah, for quite a while yet. We're in the 70s as far as this is concerned. So if you've liked the episode, Orbital return, feel free to give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe, etc., and leave me comments below if you've got any suggestions. Think I did anything wrong, do let me know. More than happy to talk about it. Otherwise, as always, guys, thanks for watching.